Hey everyone, today I am going to review a book, The Mists of Avalon. Awesome book, just saying. It's very, very, very long. I'm a fast reader. I read Harry Potter 7 in 3 days. But this was 876 pages, and they are all small, like this book, which seems big, but look at that print compared to this print. Yeah. So it took me like 3 months to read this thing. The only real complaint I had about this book was it kind of dragged at parts. There were parts that would just talk about a whole day in a whole chapter, just what they did for the day, got dressed, went to breakfast. And then sometimes it would like go over, like, it would skip 3 years into the future, and then it would also do that again with the day thing. It was just crazy, and I could never figure it out. So it was a good book. It's about the magical saga of the woman behind King Arthur's throne, The Mists of Avalon. So yeah, it was about Morgaine Le Fay, Gwenhwyfar, Morgaine Le Fay's mother, priestess of Avalon, Lancelot's wife, every woman you can think of. So this book starts with Morgaine's mother was married to this guy and had Morgaine, and then she was destined and fell in love with the King of England, and they got together and had Arthur, and how that worked out. And then it went to kind of Morgaine's perspective, and then it kind of went back and forth sort of from Morgaine's, and then every once in a while it would go in with Morgaine's teacher from Avalon, which is a mystical island where they taught magic and sorcery, and it was very insightful, it was very good, it was a very different perspective because Morgaine's always the bad guy in all the other books, and in this one, I wouldn't say she's the good guy. I mean, she makes bad decisions, and she realizes this. She realizes that she makes bad decisions, and it's awesome, because not a lot of people do that, you know? She realizes she makes bad decisions, and sometimes she's only human, but, you know, so she's not perfect, and she's not, like, the heroine of the story. It's just kind of what happened on her perspective, and it's actually very, very good, and about how she was trying to do something good for the goddess, but she realized it was wrong, because they were trying to get rid of paganism in England, and she's kind of trying to fight for it, and it doesn't really matter, and if people wanted to go to Christianity, then let them go to Christianity, and it's all the same God anyway, so why should it matter? We're all going to get to the same place anyway, if we all try to be good and, you know, just and everything. It was very good. It was very different takes on everything. Like, sex was a very, very different take in this book, because, you know, the Christians are very, you know, not sex till your marriage, and even then, only on Thursdays, and not on Christmas, and not 2 weeks before Christmas, and they had all these strict rules. Actually, back then, I was researching it, they had a lot of strict rules back then about when you could have intercourse with your husband or wife or whatever, and all this kind of stuff, and it's sinful, and women are sinful, and blah blah blah, and women are evil, and they brought evil into the world, and, you know, everything. And I mean, there's good points to Christianity. I'm not saying they're evil and whatever. I don't mind. This is just back then what the book was like. And then the people of Avalon, the pagans, like, were like, you know, more women get to choose who they have partners with. They can get married if they want, but they can go and have sex with whatever man they want, and, you know, they're okay, and they didn't bring evil in the world. They're very good. I think, you know, women are beautiful, and it's a very different take. But then they also think, you know, that, yeah, the only complaint I have is it dragged in some places, and then it, like, skipped 3 years, and you're like, what? What? Because, like, some of the parts that they skipped, like, Morgaine went into the fairyland, which you lose sense of time in there, apparently, and it didn't really chart that a lot. It just kind of charted the first couple, like the first day, which was like the first year, and then after that, the next couple years, I think she was in there 5 years, and So it was like, well, that's not helpful, you know? Morgaine's a very strong character. She definitely is a very strong woman, and she's definitely like, don't mess with me. I don't want to get. She does eventually get married in this book for a while, but it's for a certain cause that she believes is right. But otherwise, she's like, don't force me to do anything. I am who I am, and it was very, very interesting because back then they would not have women like that. Women were very submissive and did what their husbands told them, or their fathers, or brothers, or whatever, or uncles, whoever was in charge of them. And she was kind of like, no, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. This is how it's gonna go. And Gwenhwyfar, oh my God, what a twisted woman! It was awesome. She was like, how do I describe her? Very, very Christian. She was kind of but she was confused. Like, the whole book she was confused on if she's like, oh my gosh, am I sinning, am I not sinning? You know, she would repent and whatever with her pastor, or whatever they called him, priest back then. Yeah, so, and, but she got Arthur to get rid of the Pendragon flag, because she thought that it was paganistic and evil and we should put the thing of Christ. And she, hand stitched this beautiful flag for him to carry, and he couldn't refuse her. I mean, this is her wife, and she does have a lot of troubles because she's barren, and so she can't have children. And well, when you're the king's wife, that's kind of a bad thing because you kind of need an heir to the throne. And she never had a child throughout this whole book, and it was torturing her the whole time. And I would understand that, because that was your duty, your one and only duty to your husband back then, which was to give children, and she couldn't even do that, and she felt like a failure and a horrible person. It was very interesting. Arthur he wasn't a main character. I mean, he was in it every once in a while and whatever, but it was mostly the women that were in it, and he was kind of just every once in a while in there and sprinkled in. And some of the other people, like Lancelot and whatever, but Lancelot and Gwenhwyfar loved each other, and it was a cool triangle thingy. And the only other thing that well, it's not really a complaint. I understand why Marion Zimmer Bradley, who's the writer of this book, did it the way she did, but there was a lot of rape and incest. Well, sort of incest. I mean, Arthur and Morgaine kind of got together, and Morgaine had his son, and he was the rightful heir to the throne, but they wouldn't recognize it because the Christians would go crazy because, you can't have girls and you can't have children with your brother and sister. It's against the law. It's against Christianity. Oh no. And threesomes in this book, and I mean, it happened back then and everything, but it was kind of difficult sometimes to get through the rape parts, because they would go on for a while, and they were kind of graphically detailed, and that wasn't very, very cool for me, at least. But overall, I liked this book. It took me forever to get through, and that was my goal. I was like, I am going to finish this book if it kills me. And sometimes I wanted to throw it against the wall, and I didn't really cry that much. I did one time when Morgaine's lover died, and when Morgaine was being really mean to the Merlin of Britain. She was like a total bitch to him, and I kind of wanted to I just wanted to throw her in a hole with a pack of hungry wolves. Okay guys, so now after I gave you basically a huge giant summary of the book that doesn't really need to be summarized that much, and I should have just given my opinion instead of kind of just summarizing it, But there you go. So I'll see you next time. I'm gonna get more books. Comment below on what you want me to do. I read a lot of books, and if I haven't read it, then I'll put it on my list to read, and then we can discuss. But anyway, that's my long talk. I will see you next time.